Hello, hello. We are live according to the YouTube machine. Today, I've got special guest Brian Dwyer, president of Robert Edward Auctions, the man of the hour, frankly, given everything you guys have going on. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Dustin. Appreciate you making time for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to these. This is going to be fun. I wanted to first touch base. How has your holiday been? I feel like Thanksgiving can kind of go either way. It can kind of be a great time where it's like, you know what? I saw my family for a day and I'm ready to head home. Did you have to do any travel or anything? Or is your family local?
No, we lucked out. We hosted this year, so we had family coming in. My sister came in from South Carolina. My other sister came in from upstate New York, and we had a nice Thanksgiving and a lot of talk about this auction that we have going on at the Thanksgiving dinner table.
Yeah, this is not your ordinary auction. Obviously, we'll dive into that, and it actually shows because it sounded to me it was crazy. I was on social media and I saw a Today Show that you were actually on. So
Yeah.
how did that even happen? I mean, that's pretty big time for baseball cards.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I guess people dream of no matter what their product. But for us, being able to bring the hobby to the mainstream was pretty exciting. So, we're on a pretty big publicity tour for this Babe Ruth card. We'll get into that in a minute. But Today's Show, Fortune, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, real big coverage for the hobby, which is good for us. But, we're just trying to raise the profile of everything and everyone. So pretty exciting stuff.
Now, speaking of Babe Ruth, you guys have an event that's coming up on Wednesday night called An Evening with the Babe, if I have that right, in New York City. Can you walk us through the card? The card will be there, but can you also just walk through what to expect at that event?
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about this. We did one 2 weeks ago at the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum in Baltimore. We brought the card down there. We showed it off with another example. We had 2 of the 10 known examples in one place. Now in New York City, we're doing it at a private location. If anybody's in the area and wants to come, you can reach out to us for information. But we're going to have the Babe Ruth rookie card on display. We're going to have a selection of other high-end Babe Ruth items on display. So all the items that'll be there showcased will be Babe Ruth related. And we're inviting collectors. It's a 3-hour window of time where you can come in. There'll be food, there'll be drink, there'll be mingling and mixing with REA staff and other collectors. And the big one here is this Babe Ruth card.
Yeah, so I went ahead and put it up on the screen here. So the one thing I was thinking of too is, from what I understand from this card, this is owned by the same family for 100 years. Is that correct? Or how did this come out? How did they decide? I'm just curious if you're able to give any sort of backstory on that part.
Yeah, so to be clear, the family actually sold the card 2 years ago. So we're bringing it to auction on behalf of a private collector. But from 1914 to 2021, it had been in the same Baltimore area family. In 1914, their 16-year-old great-grandfather was a paperboy for the Baltimore News, which was a newspaper in the area. And he collected this Babe Ruth card as well as 14 other cards from this series and kept them. And frankly, from what I understand, didn't really think that they were anything particularly noteworthy, but they've turned out to be quite valuable and quite significant.
Now, for, I guess, the novice, this is a 1914 Baltimore News card. How did this card, was it inside of a newspaper, or how was this a part of, how was it delivered?
We don't know the answer to that entirely, but
Okay.
what we can gather is that the Baltimore newspaper produced these cards with images of the players on them, schedules for the team on the back, and we think that they were probably given out at point of sale or given out by the newspaper boys, maybe tucked into a newspaper somehow. But whatever their method of distribution or production, not many of them have survived. I mean, we're talking dozens of examples from the entire set and only 10 Babe Ruths.
Now, is there a blue version of this card? A blue? So
Yeah.
is that the same Baltimore News, or is it?
Yep. Same card, comes in red, which you see here on the screen, or blue. They're identical other than the color. And, we've been joking in this day and age of parallels and refractors and prisms and all these variations. It's funny to think that Babe Ruth's rookie card actually has 2 variations.
That's wild. Yeah. Just given how many now, How do they assess, I guess, just being that, 1914 is it the only known version, or is that the earliest known version? I know the thing that's always interesting to me about vintage baseball is how there's like new sets that are coming out. And I guess just over time, nothing has preceded this for the Babe.
Yeah, I mean, so 1914 was really the origin of Babe Ruth as a professional ball player. He's actually got a pretty fascinating backstory. If you've never read up on him, or if you've never read about his career, it's amazing. He was, at the age of 7, transferred to the St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys as a ward of the school. Basically, his family said, "We can't take care of him anymore. We're gonna let the priests at this school take care of him." And from 7 to 19, he was under the guardianship of the school. And at 19, in 1914, a guy named Jack Dunn, who was a ball player himself and manager of the Baltimore team, goes to the school. He hears about this guy named Ruth, puts a ball glove on him and says, "Come pitch for me." And Ruth at 19 actually becomes Jack Dunn becomes Ruth's legal guardian in order to get him to play for the Baltimore team. So it's just a really fascinating story. But yeah, this is, early part of 1914, the first time Ruth gets out of the St. Mary's school and starts playing pro ball.
And you guys have other Baltimore News cards in this auction, right? Including Dunn.
Yeah. So this Ruth and those other 14 cards stayed in that family. So we're offering Ruth as its own lot. We're offering Jack Dunn as his own lot. And then we're offering the 13 other cards as one group. And you'll see in the headline of the title here, we have the Babe Ruth Museum Provenance. These cards were actually on display at the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum for more than 20 years. So it's just a very cool story, origin story, display at the museum, coming to the market for the first time. It's very special.
Yeah. So just being that did you guys know that this was coming for you all, like earlier in the year, it's like, oh, this is probably, like it had already been kind of promised to be consigned to you guys. Do you have lead time, or was it like a month ago? They're like, "Hey, what do you guys think?"
A month ago, they were like, "What do you guys think?"
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, we knew where the card was. We knew the general situation with the card. We at REA have sold more of these cards over the last 30 years than any other person or any other company. And we keep pretty close tabs on them. And so we knew this card existed and we knew where it was. We didn't know when it might come up for sale. But when we heard that there might be an opportunity, we thought, and the consignor ultimately agreed, that we were the best people to bring it to market, and that's where we're at. But no, we unfortunately don't get the benefit of months lead time all the time.
That's unbelievable. Just being that you've seen, at your auction house, you see all sorts of rare things all the time, but this one had to like strike you differently, than a normal call for and I don't want to take, 52 Tops Mantle is an amazing card, and we'll talk about one next here, but this is different. This is a different type of card. It has just the historical significance for this card.
Yeah, no, so significance is unparalleled. But, when I look at it personally, I joined the company 11 years ago. And in my first auction, we sold one of these. And at that point in time, I was struck by its significance and I was struck by its value. It went for, $450,000 at the time, which was a crazy price for a sports card 11 years ago. And I haven't seen one since.
Wow.
So that's how rare they are. You think about how many Wagners we've sold in that time, how many other incredible cards, how many tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff has passed through REA. 2 times in my career have I been able to auction one of these, which is pretty amazing.
And now the current bid sits, if I saw that right, $5.5 million. And that's not including the buyer's premium.
Right. So it's 6.6 total, which makes it the 3rd highest already auction price all time.
And if I have it right, that the SGC 95 Mantle went for 12.8 million. Is that
12.6?
12.6. And that is the highest on record.
Yeah.
So far. Okay. Wow. It's wild. It'll be really fun to watch the end of that auction, just to see kind of, because that's just one of those cards. It's just the very tippity top, the 0.0001% of cards, just to see, anyone on the planet can come in at the last second. And if you have a handful of those folks, it could get kind of wild.
Well, that's just it. I mean, if you think about all the incredible auction prices, if you think about the market over the last several years where records have just been dropping at every part of the market, this card has not had has not had an opportunity to shine. You know, Wagner's have sold, Mantles have sold, Luca's, Mahomes, Brady's, you name it. They've all sold. This card hasn't. There are 10 of these. There's about 60 T206 Wagners. There's more than 2,800 1952 Mantles. So the numbers are just staggeringly low. And we think that that's going to make for a pretty exciting final couple days here.
Yeah, I might have to do some sort of a watch party on that or something, but that's fun. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to go actually to one of the cards that we were just talking about, and it is the 52 Topps Mantle. You guys have an amazing copy here in a 7, and it is currently sitting at $165,000. Also, a reminder for everybody, December 3rd is the end of bidding, so about a week left for this auction. But yeah, tremendous card, man. It looks really nice. Centering obviously is off just slightly, going right to left, left to right. But man, what a beautiful card.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've looked at any number of the thousands of 52 Mantles out there, you know that centering is really tough to get perfect on this card. So this one actually is probably centered in the better top quarter of the examples, maybe the top half of the examples. But what strikes me about this one is the image. It's got great image clarity, great color, strong corners. The silver sticker in the middle is an eye appeal sticker from a company that evaluates eye appeal and denotes higher end examples. So all in all, this is a card that I think is going to go up more. The last couple examples have broken $300,000 mark. And if you don't have $300,000, we've got a PSA 5, we've got a PSA 4, we've got a PSA Authentic, and SGC 1. I mean, we've got variety if you don't have 300 grand.
Yeah, the registration on this card in particular, I mean, the colors just pop from what I can see just looking at it online. I mean, the surface is tremendous on this card.
Yeah. Yeah, it's often got fish eyes or print dots, not so much lines like on the 51 Bowman Mantle, but this one's pretty sharp.
Now, have you seen, one thing that's been kind of interesting is we've seen prices dip, not necessarily on cards like this, a little bit maybe if we're going back to just kind of historical highs, but just being the fact that cards have become more affordable. Have you gotten more interest, more calls, seeing more bidders, more registrations, I guess, people kind of getting in because of the fact that, we don't necessarily have, that we're not at that tippity top 2021 price points for some of this stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, our registrations auction over auction, month over month, just continue to climb. And I think that really speaks to the kind of resiliency of the vintage market. We've definitely seen prices correct in some areas. We've definitely seen some of the modern really take a hit, but the vintage has been pretty strong and pretty consistent. And I do think that some of the people that came in for modern are now pivoting to vintage, and others that are coming in now for the first time are saying, well, maybe this is an opportunity compared to what we saw 12, 18, 24 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to shift gears a little bit over to a non-vintage card. This card, these types of cards are very, very interesting. Huge talking points in the hobby right now because, of course, when you think Jordan, you think the 86 Fleer iconic rookie card, but there's been so much emphasis on these types of cards, these 90s insert cards, just given the scarcity. They're numbered. This one in particular, the PMG is numbered to 50. Beautiful copy. What do you think about this one?
Well, I really like the design of this card. I mean, I think it really is it epitomizes Jordan in so many different ways. You've got the Chicago skyline. You've got this great shot of him in action. And I think, for REA, this is just one example of the many non-vintage baseball items that we have. I think sometimes people put us in a vintage baseball box, which is obviously our bread and butter, but we've got great modern, we've got great basketball, football, jerseys, game used. I mean, there's a lot of variety. So when we've had this card come to us, it was pretty exciting, and it's been well received. We've gotten a lot of views on this, a lot of inquiries on it, 21 different bids on it. So it should be fun to see where it goes.
Now, just curious with consigners, do you typically see the same people that have, a huge vintage collection, they have vintage cards that they're consigning? Or is it that you have folks that just have a eclectic, a mix where they've got a 52 tops and they've got a Jordan PMG? Is it typical to see a mix like that or not really?
It can literally be both. I mean, we have some people who gravitate towards the iconic names. So their collection will have Mantle and Ruth and Jordan and Brady and Gretzky. And they're kind of agnostic as to the era. They just want the GOATs almost. Then we have people that are specialists. They're doing vintage only. They're doing modern only. So we've learned that stuff comes in some strange places sometimes, but collectors are sometimes interesting people. I look at my own collection and it's got a lot of variety in it sometimes. So, it is what it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we're going to shift off of cards for a second. I thought this was really cool. So we've got an Oscar Robertson jersey, game used 66-67 Cincinnati Royals home uniform. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? Because with sports memorabilia, sometimes first off, it just kind of strikes me just how old these jerseys are. So cool, these older jerseys. Yeah. And does it come with the trunks as well, the shorts?
Yeah, it's full uniform, top and bottom. And this one's really cool because it's fresh to the hobby. So it's been in the same family for a while. They came to us initially, decided that it wasn't the right time to sell. Then they went and got it authenticated. It got a perfect 10 on the mirror scale. It's been photo matched to some games from the 66-67 season. So it's really dialed in. And I like the design. To your point, they don't always make the jerseys like they used to, but no. This one's pretty sharp. Comes from the heart of Robertson's Hall of Fame career, and I think this one will do well.
What have you been saying on the sports memorabilia side? Just as far as, is there any increased interest on that? People moving out of cards into memorabilia? Is it two separate audiences, or is it kind of folks I've seen, of course, on Instagram? There's guys and gals that have great collections that are a good mix. Yeah. But do you kind of have those diehard sports memorabilia people that are looking for this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly it's usually two different camps. There are some people that have decided to cross over, but with memorabilia, there's just a greater learning curve. And I think that sometimes that makes it so that card collectors are perhaps more apprehensive to jump in than they might be to a new card set. Cards are sometimes pretty black and white. If you're buying them graded, chances are you're going to be fine. Memorabilia, there's a lot to know. There's a lot of nuances. What does it mean if it's photo matched? What does it mean if it's repaired? There's just a lot to learn. But I think memorabilia is poised for growth. I mean, I think as these card prices increase and you see that, Mantle and Ruth and all those cards are hitting millions of dollars, but you can get something that they wore in a game or used at the plate or used in their career for a fraction of that. I think that's going to be good for that part of the hobby long term.
I think especially too, when you look at those historical pieces like the Robertson, it's funny because people will spend, a lot more on a modern jersey, a game used jersey. And it's like, man, you've got some of these classic historical items that sometimes go for less than a game used Luka Doncic jersey or something, kind of in the same way that cards do, where you've got a Luka Doncic RPA that's a 6-figure card, and you've got some amazing vintage that's, in a high grade that could be had for less. So that's always kind of an interesting dynamic to me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we even look at this Ruth card. I mean, this Ruth card with its last bid surpassed Mahomes and Luka. I mean, that's the top 5: Mantle, Wagner, Ruth, Mahomes, Luka.
It's incredible. This next card is one I don't have the funds for it. It is on the bucket list, though. One day I will have this card at some point. It's the 1976 Topps Walter Payton rookie, and it's in a 10. I did see one of these going back a couple years in Dallas, another copy at the Dallas Card Show. And I just remember looking at it for about 15 minutes. And I think the guy thought I was going to try to take it or something, because it was just, it's funny too. I have this card in a 6, and just seeing the difference in a 10 and a 5 or a 6 at mid grade. And for whatever reason, these, not that they're inexpensive, but again, in comparison to a lot of other things, these cards in a 10, which are not high population cards, are, just tremendous cards.
Yeah, and I've always been struck by the Payton. I think it's a pretty simple card, but it's powerful. And you look at his career, great player, great Hall of Fame career. And this card in a 10 is not easy to come by. And even some of the 10s that are out there, centering, they've got centering issues, they've got print quality defects. This one is pretty sharp. I mean, we've gone over this, the centering's all there, the print's there. So excited to see. There's been a lot of interest. You see here 35 bids. Excited to see where this one goes, because in football cards, this is a very important, iconic rookie.
Yeah, I mean, especially too. I just watched the Bye Bye Barry documentary on Prime, and it's going back. And I grew up watching Barry Sanders. Of course, Barry Sanders' dad was all about Jim Brown. He always used to joke like, "Hey, Barry, Jim Brown's the greatest of all time." But if you look at NFL running backs, especially when the game is it's not a running game anymore, it's pass happy.
Yeah.
These guys are never going to run for this sort of yardage again. Like this is it. I mean, you've got Walter Payton, you've got Jim Brown, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. There's just not a lot of these guys that are iconic NFL running backs. They're just asked to do different things, catching out of the backfield and that sort of thing. And so that's what it just, especially this card, because it's a portrait, shows his face and everything. It's not, not wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous card.
No, for sure. I agree. The game's changed, but card collectors continue to like the Payton rookie.
Yeah, it is a all-timer for sure. We're going to go back to a guy that I collect a lot of. I believe this might be the last one I've got on the docket, but it is the Tom Brady road jersey game used. It's photo matched to 4 different games. And again, the game used jersey market, this one's currently at 145,000. Is there anything in particular? Okay, so I'm just looking at the notes here during the 2013 season. Awesome.
Yeah, 2013 photo matched. I mean, the photo matching is, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of many collectors, really a game changer for this market. In our last auction, we had a photo matched Babe Ruth bat that went for over $1.3 million. Without being able to put that in Babe Ruth's hand, it's half that price. And I think the same holds true for these jerseys. When you're able to put these jerseys on the backs of the players, and especially if you can tie it to a significant moment, the price just multiplies. And so this Brady is matched to 4 games. It's matched by multiple companies. And, I think collectors, obviously we all know what Brady did, and eventually he'll be in the Hall of Fame, but collectors like these jerseys, these pieces of game used memorabilia that are well documented, and this fits the bill.
Yeah, this stuff is incredible. Wow. Now you had said too, this Babe Ruth card that that you're selling now, one sold 11 years ago for $450,000. Have you seen the same sort of uptick over the years with sports memorabilia, or has it always been at a premium like this?
Well, certainly the market for game used jerseys and bats and memorabilia has changed. I mean, I look at my first auction 10, 11, 12 years ago, what you could get a Mantle gamer or an Aaron gamer or a Clemente gamer. I mean, I remember selling Clemente jersey for $50,000. That would be multiples of that today. So yes, like everything on the card side, the memorabilia has moved up as well. But I think that these well-documented pieces, the photo matched pieces, the 10 grade jerseys, that's where you're seeing and will continue to see the largest spike and long-term appreciation.
Now this auction ends in about 6 days, that we had mentioned on December 3rd. Brian, can you explain, just so everyone is aware, how does it go at the end? Because each auction house has got different rules as far as hey, you need to be in to get an extended bidding and that sort of thing. How do those auctions end, so people know kind of how to do it, how to operate?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, you've got to be in it to win it. So you've got to place what we call as an initial or qualifying bid prior to 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, December 3rd. So if you're sitting here or watching and you go to our website and you see something that interests you, drop in a bid, because there's going to be tens of thousands of bids that come in between now and Sunday, but at least you'll be qualified. You'll then be able to, after 9 p.m. on the final day, compete against only those bidders that have qualified on that item or those items that you're bidding on. The auction will go until midnight Eastern, allow people to move money around for a couple hours. And then starting at midnight, we go to a 15-minute lot by lot close. So if you're bidding on this Babe Ruth and a bid comes in, another bidder has 15 minutes to answer. If it goes 15 minutes without a bid, the auction ends. So, we think a very fair system. We have a lot of bidders that come to REA for its variety, and they're coming in with a budget and they're trying to bid on dozens or hundreds of lots even sometimes. So we want to give them the optionality to move around, but at midnight things get serious, and that's when it's fun to watch.
Now, as part of the kind of the longer drawn out part of that, just to help also international bidders with time change and stuff like that, because midnight, I mean, across the world, that could be, it kind of helps everybody. It might be late East Coast time, but everywhere else, it kind of gives everyone an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, this is the time, the ending time discussion is something that I think auctions have been dealing with for decades. There's no time that's going to work for everybody. I mean, we ship catalogs to buyers in multiple countries. We have bidders registered from nearly 30 countries. What's good for you in New York is not going to work in another part of the world, or vice versa. So we have found that evening time is the best to engage as many people as possible. Obviously, we're mostly an American audience, but not exclusively. So that's what we do. We used to end, like many other auctions, at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we all agree that that's bad.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely. Now, too, also I know REA is always kind of known for the vintage stuff. It's like, oh man, they've got this amazing vintage stuff. But if you look on the website, there's plenty of modern, ultra modern. There's Pokemon. There's all sorts of different things. So anyone that's watching, just be mindful that these are large auctions with all sorts of different items.
Yeah.
Brian, is there anything else that you wanted to add in? We're almost to time. I feel like we covered some good ground, but is there anything you wanted to throw in kind of at the end here?
Well, I think you just touched on the variety, and the variety also extends to price. So, we talk about this Babe Ruth card, which we think could go for upwards of $10 million or more. We talk about some of these jerseys that are six figures. We have items that are starting at $100 in this same auction. We have items in our monthly auctions that start at $10. So we encourage people to come poke around. You might find something that's for your collection. We're selling tens of thousands of items every year. And, it's fun. And I would be remiss if I didn't show you.
Oh, man. Wow.
So,
wow.
Try and get the glare down. But yeah.
Man, it's got to feel kind of weird even just holding that card. I mean, it's just.
Well,
Holy Grail's thrown around a lot. It's like Grail card this and Grail card that. But man, I mean.
It's cool. My background, as many people know, was at a grading company. I saw a lot of great stuff come in at REA. I joke I have the best collection multiple times a year because of the stuff that we're trusted to sell. So, I'm not desensitized by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what we do.
Yeah. Brendan, I think it goes beyond a bragging rights card. It's like, I don't know even what category to put it in, but yeah, Rip City. Wow. There it is. Yep. And so, as Brian had mentioned, we had talked about this earlier for those that might just be coming in. If you happen to be near New York City, they will have this card on display before auction ends on Wednesday night this week. So in 2 nights, they're going to, where is it? Oh, it's at the Raleigh Museum. The Raleigh Museum in New York City is where they're going to have it, along with other Babe Ruth items. So if you guys happen to be out that way, that would be really fun. I wish I was nearby, I would definitely pop in.
Yeah, if you want to come, send us an email, info@robertedwardauctions.com. You have to be on the guest list to get in, and we'd love to have you. And if you want to go to the website, it's robertedwardauctions.com. Poke around. You can request a catalog. I saw somebody in the comments say they got theirs. It's big. It's 728 pages. So lots of reading material.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thanks again for coming on. It's always a good time. We'll see you again next time, and good luck to anyone that's bidding on these auctions.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Dustin.
All right. Talk to you later, guys.